Imagine a world where a diagnosis of blood cancer doesn't mean a desperate struggle, endless rounds of toxic chemotherapy, or a looming sense of hopelessness. Picture instead a future where a single infusion could set your immune system on a search and destroy mission, targeting only the invaders, sparing the rest of your body, and rewriting what it means to survive cancer. Now imagine this seismic shift unfolding at a medical conference with billions of dollars and untold patient hopes hanging in the balance. Welcome to the battleground of the 2025 American Society of Clinical Oncology, the stage for what could be the biggest shakeup in global cancer treatment in a generation. This year, buried beneath the glossy news of biotech mergers and Wall Street speculation, two promising new drugs, linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin, are taking their shot at rewriting the rulebook in hematology. But beneath every breakthrough, there's a brewing storm. Will these next-generation therapies usher in a new era for patients, or will they be stifled by Big Pharma's $100 billion grip on the global cancer market? The answer could reshape not just medicine, but the entire economics of healthcare. Let's hit pause on the headlines for a moment and step back. Why is this meeting, a sprawling, hectic event in Chicago, so pivotal for cancer treatment, and what do these weird-sounding drugs actually do? For decades, the fight against blood cancers like multiple myeloma and diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, DLBCL, has followed a familiar pattern. Detect the disease, blast it with chemotherapy, hope the patient survives both the cancer and the cure. Entire pharmaceutical empires have been built on selling the tools of this atomic age approach. But the numbers tell a harsh story. Even with the best care, nearly 100,000 people die from blood cancers each year in the U.S. alone. ASCO, for the uninitiated, isn't just another scientific symposium. It's the Super Bowl for oncologists, a place where practice-changing results are unveiled, careers are made, and, increasingly, the next wave of biotechnologies battles for a shot at the mainstream. Historically, the spotlight has been on solid tumors, breast, lung, colon cancer, but in 2025, the focus has shifted. For the first time in years, hematology is the main act. What's driving this transformation? In a word, innovation. As of this year, cancer drugs rake in more than $100 billion for the world's largest pharma companies. Giants like Regeneron, Merck, Johnson & Johnson, and others are locked in fierce competition, each desperate to find, license, or buy the next big thing before their rivals. The rewards are mind-boggling. A single blockbuster drug can become a $10 billion annual juggernaut, making or breaking balance sheets, shifting stock prices overnight. Let's get specific. This ASCO, all eyes are on Regeneron's linvoseltamab and Merck's zilovertamab vedotin. Linvoseltamab, a bispecific antibody, is being positioned as a game-changer for multiple myeloma, a devastating disease notorious for its resistance to standard therapies. Here's how it works. Linvoseltamab attaches itself to BCMA, a protein found on myeloma cells, and at the same time latches onto CD3, a molecule on T cells, which are the immune system's attack dogs. Suddenly, it's as if you've put a GPS tracker on every cancer cell and signaled the immune system to attack. No more friendly fire, just surgical precision. Merck's zilovertamab vedotin plays in a different league, targeting DLBCL, one of the most common and aggressive blood cancers. It's an antibody-drug conjugate, or ADC, a kind of molecular smart bomb. Its key trick? Recognizing ROR1, a protein overexpressed on DLBCL cells, and then delivering a payload of toxin directly where it hurts. The result? Higher kill rates, fewer side effects, at least in theory. Industry experts are taking notice. Dr. Salomon Manier, who's led several major trials, remarks, linvoseltamab's response rates in relapsed myeloma justify an avalanche of research, especially combinations for those with few options left. Gregory Lubiniecki, speaking about Merck's candidate, says the Waveline 010 trial reflects an unshakable commitment to addressing the needs of DLBCL patients who've been left out in the cold by previous treatments. Let's be clear, these aren't the only players in the game. There's a dizzying array of new antibody constructs, cell therapies, and gene editing experiments racing through clinical trials. But linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin have something the others don't: momentum, scale, and the chance to break into first-line therapy, the most lucrative, fiercely protected territory in pharma. But hope in oncology is always shadowed by risk. The last 5 years have seen a flurry of breakthroughs in so-called immunotherapies, treatments that harness the body's own defenses. Bispecific antibodies like linvoseltamab and antibody-drug conjugates like zilovertamab vedotin are the latest incarnations in this lineage. Yet the clinical and commercial reality is rarely so simple. For every dazzling headline, there's a footnote: drugs that work for a lucky few, dangerous side effects, or trials that derail at the last moment. The stakes could not be higher, not just for patients and their families, but for investors, insurers, healthcare systems, and the global pharma giants themselves. The next generation of cancer drugs faces a gauntlet of challenges. The FDA's target action date for linvoseltamab is looming, July 10, 2025. Will regulators be convinced by the early results, or will toxicity, cost, or a lack of long-term data slow its approval? Zilovertamab vedotin, meanwhile, must prove that it can deliver on the hype without triggering the immune system's most dangerous overreactions, or causing the resistance that has doomed so many previous drugs. And then, there's the elephant in the room: money. The harsh truth is that the world's biggest pharmaceutical players don't just compete in the lab. They wage war in boardrooms, at patent offices, and through lobbying in Washington, Brussels, and Beijing. Every new drug is a high-stakes gamble. Costs can top $2 billion from discovery to market. Prices must stay high to recoup investments and satisfy shareholders. But sky-high prices mean that the world's poorest patients, often those most in need, are shut out from the benefits of progress. A recent analysis by the World Health Organization found that, in some low- and middle-income countries, fewer than 10% of eligible cancer patients receive cutting-edge treatments. The result? A global health divide that's widening, not shrinking. Will these new therapies finally bridge the gap, or just move the goalposts for the rich world? So, what's the scorecard so far? We've got a handful of promising drugs, a fiercely competitive pharma landscape, patients desperate for new options, and a global economy struggling to pay for the miracles of modern medicine. But this isn't just about medicine and money, it's about who controls the future of cancer treatment. Will innovation topple the old guard? Or will the economics of drug development keep power locked in the hands of a few multinational giants? To understand the magnitude of what's at stake, we need to dig deeper into how these drugs work, the obstacles they face, and the underlying tension between breakthrough science and commercial reality. Let's break down the core conflicts. First, scientific challenge. Cancer is relentless in its ability to mutate and evolve. The miracle of bispecific antibodies and antibody-drug conjugates is that they're more targeted than anything we've seen before. But their very specificity is a double-edged sword. The more precise the attack, the easier it can be for the cancer to hide or adapt. Resistance can emerge shockingly fast, sometimes within months. That means R&D pipelines can dry up almost overnight if drugs don't keep ahead of the disease. Second, toxicity and safety. Even cutting-edge therapies aren't immune to dangerous side effects. For example, Brukinsa, another high-profile blood cancer drug, revolutionized treatment but carries a risk of hemorrhage and infection. Linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin must prove they can deliver superior effectiveness without opening new avenues for harm. Will these new therapies truly spare patients the agony of conventional treatment, or simply swap one set of risks for another? Third, economics and accessibility. Here's a sobering statistic. The average launch price for a new cancer drug has soared past $180,000 per patient, and that's just for starters. As Dr. Catherine C. Coombs notes, bispecific antibodies and CAR T-cell therapies are revolutionizing multiple myeloma, but only for those who can access them. This means that even the world's most dazzling breakthroughs could remain unavailable to most of humanity, unless something gives. Fourth, regulatory and market dynamics. The FDA, EMA, and other agencies are raising the bar for approvals. Efficacy is not enough. New drugs must show long-term survival benefits, manageable side effects, and superior cost-effectiveness. Big Pharma's reliance on me-too drugs, slight variations on existing therapies, may no longer be enough to satisfy increasingly skeptical payers and regulators. And yet, the promise remains tantalizing. Mark Lanasa of Beijing insists, "Our work at ASCO is proof that global cancer care is changing. Every patient, in every country, deserves a shot at survival." But the gap between aspiration and reality has rarely felt so wide. Now, as the 2025 ASCO meeting unveils early results and sends shockwaves through the industry, the world is watching. Can linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin overcome the mounting obstacles, scientific, commercial, ethical, and truly change the fate of blood cancer patients? Or will their promise be devoured by the relentless forces of profit, politics, and biology? In the next chapter, we'll uncover the hidden negotiations, behind-the-scenes lobbying, and the real-world patient stories playing out as these drugs march toward approval. But for now, the big question looms. Is this the dawn of a new era in cancer care, or just the next chapter in Big Pharma's long, expensive game? Stay tuned. As the ASCO 2025 meeting draws global attention, the stakes for blood cancer patients and the medical community have never been higher. The presentation of linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin isn't just about two promising molecules. It's about redefining hope for tens of thousands battling multiple myeloma and DLBCL. Yet, as scientific excitement swells, the future is far from certain. What happens next could either unleash a new era of accessible, life-changing care or deepen the divides already haunting cancer medicine. Let's explore the possible roads ahead and what they could mean for all of us. Imagine the next few years. The FDA's action date for linvoseltamab hovers in July 2025. Trial data on zilovertamab vedotin emerges at ASCO, triggering ripples through research departments and investment offices worldwide. If both drugs receive regulatory approval, their launch could rewrite standard guidelines not only in the US, but across leading oncology societies around the globe. The most optimistic scenario? Widespread adoption. Linvoseltamab, a bispecific antibody, opens new doors for myeloma patients who have exhausted other options. Zilovertamab vedotin, a targeted ADC, is rapidly integrated into protocols for aggressive, hard-to-treat DLBCL. In specialized centers, patients gain months, sometimes years, of quality life, free from the brutal side effects of old-school chemotherapies. But science, like life, is rarely straightforward. Clinical trials are only the first chapter. Real-world rollouts may reveal surprises, rare adverse events, resistance patterns, or populations that simply don't respond as expected. Mark Lanasa, Chief Medical Officer at BeiGene, notes, "Progress in cancer care isn't just about developing drugs. It's about ensuring everyone who needs them can get them safely and affordably." Here lurks the first risk: cost. Advanced biologics and ADCs regularly top 6 figures per treatment cycle. Even with insurance, access in many countries remains a privilege, not a guarantee. Payers and national health systems, already strained, must decide who qualifies and who waits. The pricing decisions made in the next 18 months could shape global cancer care for a generation. Will linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin become symbols of progress or emblems of inequality? Meanwhile, Big Pharma's battle for market share intensifies. Companies pour millions into clinician education and direct-to-consumer campaigns, eager to cement their new drugs as first choice. There's a real risk of innovation fatigue. Oncology teams overwhelmed by waves of new data, patients left confused about what's truly best for them. Regulatory agencies will face mounting pressure to expedite approvals, sometimes on thinner evidence than before. The race for the next blockbuster can sometimes outpace what's best for the patient, a leading oncologist, Dr. Salomon Manier, warns in an ASCO preview session. Beneath the headlines, a quiet revolution unfolds. Linvoseltamab's bispecific platform could serve as a template for future custom-designed antibodies, faster to develop, easier to manufacture, and potentially more affordable. Zilovertamab vedotin's targeting of ROR1 paves the way for similar ADCs, not only in DLBCL but solid tumors as well. Scientists speculate about combinations, pairing bispecifics or ADCs with immunotherapies or novel cell therapies, seeking deeper, more durable responses. Yet, new therapies bring new challenges. Resistance, the eternal nemesis of cancer medicine, is already a concern. Researchers at this year's ASCO warn of BCMA downregulation in myeloma and mutation-driven escape in DLBCL. Continuous monitoring, rapid adaptation, and relentless research will be vital to stay ahead of evolving diseases. Perhaps the most tantalizing consequence is the acceleration of personalized medicine. Genomic sequencing is no longer rare. For many cancer centers, it's routine. Imagine a future where a patient's tumor profile is instantly matched to a library of targeted agents, including next-generation bispecifics and ADCs, tailored to their unique biology. Some experts, like Dr. Catherine C. Coombs, believe that the age of one-size-fits-all cancer care is ending. Bispecific antibodies and precision ADCs will become the spearhead of a new, individualized standard. But for every dramatic advance, there's a shadow, gaps in access. Countries without robust insurance systems may experience years of delay before these new drugs become available. Even within well-resourced nations, rural hospitals and underfunded clinics struggle to offer cutting-edge therapies. Nonprofit advocacy groups will likely need to step in, pushing for expanded coverage, patient education, and financial support programs. So, what's at stake isn't simply who profits from a breakthrough, but whether innovation is distributed equitably or deepens age-old divides. Will wealthier urban patients surge ahead while others fall further behind? Or can the medical community, regulators, and industry leaders work together to ensure breakthroughs leave no one behind? If you or a loved one is navigating cancer care or simply following these headlines, what practical lessons emerge from this maelstrom of science, business, and policy? First, stay informed and ask questions. The pace of oncology innovation is breathtaking, but no single drug is a miracle. Linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin offer hope, but also carry risks and are not suitable for all patients. If you or your family are facing multiple myeloma or DLBCL, discuss upcoming trial results and potential eligibility for new therapies with your medical team. Early enrollment in clinical trials can sometimes provide access to tomorrow's standards, today. Second, advocate for transparency in care. As new drugs enter the market, patients and providers must work together to navigate complex insurance rules, financial assistance programs, and the fine print in clinical guidelines. Don't hesitate to request second opinions or consult patient advocacy organizations that track access programs from major drug makers. Third, recognize the power of collective action. Much of the progress showcased at ASCO 2025 is a direct result of multinational collaborations, patient participation in research, and public support for funding science. By speaking up, whether through local nonprofits, social media, or national advocacy groups, you help ensure the new era of cancer medicine prioritizes lives over profits. For physicians and researchers, the coming wave of bispecific antibodies, ADCs, and personalized therapies demands non-stop education. The days of learning a new drug every decade are over. Now it's every year, sometimes every quarter. Staying ahead means constant engagement with the latest evidence, clinical trial opportunities, and patient needs. For policymakers, the arrival of innovative therapies challenges old models of drug approval and reimbursement. It's a call to action: streamline access without compromising safety, encourage the negotiation of affordable prices, and require real-world evidence post-launch to confirm long-term benefit. History teaches us that every great leap in medicine brings a crossroads. In the 1990s, rituximab transformed lymphoma care, but it took years and fierce debate before it was available to all who needed it. Now, on the eve of ASCO 2025, we stand at a similar threshold. The decisions made in conference halls and government offices will echo in hospital wards and patient homes for decades. And so, the central question returns: will the promise of linvoseltamab and zilovertamab vedotin truly reshape global cancer care, or will they become yet another example of progress reaching the few, not the many? The answer, for now, remains unwritten. But there's one secret that rarely makes the headlines. True progress in cancer care doesn't come from molecules alone. It comes from the relentless determination of patients, families, clinicians, and scientists, an army of hope, fighting not just for new treatments, but for a fairer, more compassionate system that leaves no one behind. So as ASCO 2025 plays out, watch the news, but read between the lines. The future of cancer care will be shaped not just by laboratory data or business deals, but by all of us, our questions, our advocacy, and our insistence that breakthroughs are meaningful only when they reach every patient, everywhere. If this story moved you or offered new insight, consider subscribing for deeper dives into the latest in medical research, and share this video with friends who care about the future of cancer care. What do you think? Are we on the brink of a new era, or just repeating old mistakes in a new disguise? Comment below, join the debate.